Welcome back. So in this lesson, we're going to transition from talking about arithmetic series to geometric series. So in this transition, you're going to notice we have a different formula because we're dealing with geometric series now. So things where we're multiplying instead of thinking about adding. Now, we're going to start with a nice case where every piece that you need is already given, just to keep it more basic for you in the beginning steps here. But as you can tell, this is going to be the formula that we need to be able to use. Now, my little hint for doing this, because it's always more confusing when you're dealing with fractions. It's more difficult to type into the calculator. So what I'm going to say is make sure that you calculate the top of the fraction, the bottom of the fraction, then divide. So this is a three-step process. Calculate the top, calculate the bottom, and then divide. Now, what are the pieces that we need? Well, we need the first term. We need r, and then r to the nth power. So we need to know how many terms we're talking about. Okay? So let's get all of those pieces. So here, a1, well, that's clearly 5. N is 10, is given that we're going out to 10 terms. And then that rate. Well, here again, this one is probably pretty obvious, but don't forget you can always take the second term, divided by the first term. So 10 divided by 5 is telling us that we're multiplying by 2 every term. Okay? So don't forget that if it's ever difficult for you to see, you can always think of it as dividing the next term from the term that you're on. Now we have everything we need. So now we can actually set up our summation. So a1, which is 5, times 1 minus r to the n power divided by 1 minus r. Now notice precisely where I put my parentheses, all right? I put parentheses around the numbers I'm plugging in, and then I keep the parentheses that I was using before, that are actually written in the formula. So it's very important that that is precisely how you write this. And that's how you need to plug it into the calculator too. So when I say to calculate the top of this thing, well, to calculate the top, 5 times 1 minus 2 to the 10th power, end parenthesis. So again, plug it in just as I have. And remember my hint, only calculate the top. So when you do that, you get negative 5,115. So negative 5,115. Then the bottom, 1 minus 2, is a negative 1. When you divide those two, you get a positive 5,115 as your sum. So again, it's all about finding the pieces that you need and plugging them in. Let's do our next one. So our first term is going to be 8. Our n, it gives us, is also 8. Then our r, well, if we take 4 divided by 8, makes it easy to see that we're multiplying by 0.5. Remember, with geometric, you have to consider that you are multiplying. You can't say, I'm dividing by 2. No, you have to say you're multiplying by 0.5. Remember that there's a big difference there. So now let's plug it into the formula. 8 times 1 minus the rate, which is 0.5, to the n power, so to the 8, divided by 1 minus 0.5. So let's plug the top into the calculator. 8 times 1 minus 0.5. This time we're doing to the 8th power. Calculate that. And yes, you do need all the decimal places. Okay, I don't want you rounding. So make sure you write down all the decimal places. So here we're getting 7.96875 divided by 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5. So now I can take that answer and I'm dividing it by 0.5. So my answer is 15.9375. Right, so because it is a terminating decimal, you can actually just leave it like that. All right, you can leave it written in that form. I'll show you what to do if it's not a terminating decimal later on. So, one more example before I set you free to do your practice work. So here, I need my n, or I need my first term, which is 2. I need my n, which is 9. Then I need that r. Well, -6 divided by 2. My r is I'm multiplying by -3. So I have all the pieces that I need. So now let's plug them in. 1 minus -3 to the 9th power, 1 minus -3. All right. So again, let's plug that top into the calculator. 2 times 1 minus -3 to the 9th power I plug all that in, get 39,368. All right. And on the bottom, 1 minus a -3. 1 minus a -3 will actually give us 4. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. So I divide my answer by 4 and get 9,842. All right. So again, just please, the biggest thing here is be careful with your parentheses. Make sure you do the parentheses exactly as I'm showing you, and then the calculator will do this right. But you do have to make sure that you're plugging everything in exactly as I've shown you. So make sure you have all this written down, and then as always, come see me if you have any questions before you do your practice work.